There are over 150,000 sellers or suppliers on Alibaba in over 240 countries. In this episode, we're going to talk about the top 5 countries to look for a manufacturer to make your Amazon products. What's up, guys? I'm Andy Isom. On this channel, we're talking all about how to build a brand, how to launch a business, and take control of your own income. In this episode, we're talking about how to find a supplier, a manufacturer, to make your product so that you can sell it on Amazon or Shopify or wherever you want to sell it online. The first country on my list is China. Over $3.8 trillion of output come out of China every single year. It's the largest country in the world for manufacturing. They do trade with the United States, Europe, South America, countries all over the world. 28.4% of the global output of products being manufactured come out of China. So that's almost a third of everything made anywhere in the world is being made in China. Now, here's a reason why I really like China as a place to go for your products. China has literally everything you can imagine. They've got all sorts of factories producing all sorts of different types of products. They are very, very well prepared for this. They've been doing this for, decades now. They have the infrastructure in place to handle all the logistics of, creating products for millions of brands and businesses all over the world. So basically, they have their stuff together. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this for a very long time. A lot of the manufacturers you're going to find on Alibaba or AliExpress are going to be from China. However, there are some things to keep in mind about China. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in this episode, as far as trade wars and tariffs and imports and all those types of relationship issues that you could call them going on between China and the United States, for example. So we'll talk a little bit more about NAFTA and some other things to be aware of when you're sourcing from a country like China versus another country. But China still remains probably the top option for finding just the vast majority of any products that you can imagine. Number 2 on my list is India. Now, India is a growing manufacturing hotbed. The manufacturing sector of India has the potential to reach $1 trillion by 2025. One of the things that I really love about working with India is their English proficiency. If you're working with some of the other Asian countries like China, Japan, Vietnam, there is quite a language barrier. You're gonna find some frustrations communicating with contacts on Alibaba, although they can write very well in English in a lot of cases. Some of them use just Google Translate to communicate with you. So a lot of the communication and details being, sent back and forth can get lost with the language barrier. However, with India, English is one of the top national languages. So a lot of people already speak it. So you can communicate very, very well with the suppliers over there in India. India has 1.8 billion people. Now they're looking for jobs for all those people, which is why they're putting a lot more emphasis on manufacturing. The other really good thing about India are their natural resources. For example, iron ore, bauxite, high solar insulation, and cotton. Low-cost labor are a boon to makers of basic metals, textiles and apparel, renewable energy, and chemical products. So they have the natural resources to create a lot of different types of products. I know a lot of friends of mine selling on Amazon, manufacturing, going to India specifically for the textile market. So if you're thinking about doing something with textiles, clothing, anything like that, I would strongly recommend you at least take a peek at some India suppliers, get some samples so you can see their quality. Now, India is very far on the other side of the world, even farther from China. So, if you're doing air shipping, even freight shipping, you will experience some longer lead times. So that is a negative with India. However, they don't quite have the same tariffs and regulations that you might have between the US and China. So you could save yourself a little bit of money right there. The third country on my list for you to check out is Vietnam. Now, a lot of people are moving their manufacturing facilities from China to Vietnam due to, trade wars and things like that going on between China and the US. However, Vietnam actually sources 70 to 80% 50% of their raw materials from China. So although you might be manufacturing in Vietnam, there's a very, very high chance that they're actually getting those materials from contacts in China. So, there's always regulations and issues going back and forth between China and other countries. So just keep in mind, if you are going to Vietnam, you might experience some higher costs, some higher price quotes, as they are taking into account the fact that they need to source from China to get them into their factories before they sell them to you. However, like I said, you can avoid a lot of the legal issues of working with China. Now, if we're talking about logistics with Vietnam, this is also something to keep in mind. Among the 160 countries included in the World Bank's 2018 Logistics Performance Index, Vietnam ranked 39th, which was well behind China, which came in ranking 26th overall. So what does this mean? It basically means that China has a better infrastructure for logistics, meaning shipping, trucks, boats, freight, all that kind of stuff. But Vietnam did outrank several countries in the region, including Bangladesh, which ranked 100th, Cambodia 98th, Indonesia 46th, and India, which came in at 44th. So although their logistics aren't quite as good as China, they did come in higher than some other countries you'll probably find on Alibaba, like we listed, Bangladesh, Indonesia, some other countries like that. Just to give you a heads up, an example here, Samsung has actually invested $17.3 billion over the past decade into building 8 new factories and an R&D center in Vietnam. So if Samsung is moving a lot of their factories to Vietnam, that's probably saying there's something good to be had there. The fourth country on my list for you guys today is Mexico. For companies manufacturing in China, Mexico manufacturing offers similar direct labor costs, which is really, really unique, I guess, to our time period. For years, for decades, China was the low-cost labor center. That's why everyone went to China for the manufacturing. However, Mexico has greatly reduced their labor costs, and they're actually competing on par with China. A significant reduction in transportation costs for raw materials and the ability to incorporate just-in-time manufacturing practices into your current supply chain make Mexico a very, very intriguing option for getting, your products made. Like we said, just-in-time manufacturing, you can place an order, get it made pretty quickly, and get it shipped right across the border via, trucking, ground shipping. It's going to save you a lot of money. It's going to be a lot quicker than boat or air express, which the costs obviously are very high. Going back to that topic of labor costs, average manufacturing labor costs in Mexico are now almost 20% lower than in China, whereas in 2000, Mexico's labor costs were 58% more expensive than China's. So again, labor costs in Mexico are actually lower than China in some cases, whereas, years ago, it was significantly more expensive. So keep that in mind next time you're looking for a manufacturer. To give you a rough idea of how Mexico manufacturing is trending right now, a significant portion of US export-oriented middle and high-end manufacturing takes place in northern Mexico, especially around Monterrey, which is a major steel producing area where the GDP per capita exceeds $40,000, meaning the people living in that area have a little bit higher, income, average income, cost of living, all that kind of thing. On the other end of the spectrum though, the low-end manufacturing of goods like clothing, textiles are continuing to expand in Mexico in cities like Campeche and Veracruz, making this particular region a beneficiary of China's growing labor costs. So as China's labor costs continue to increase, that southern region of Mexico is decreasing and becoming a lot more competitive with Chinese manufacturing. And also, since the implementation of NAFTA, which we'll talk more about here in just a sec, back in 1994, Mexico's real GDP climbed up by about $383 billion to reach nearly $1.3 trillion. So that's just going to show that manufacturing is increasing drastically in Mexico ever since NAFTA was enacted back in 1994. Now, what is NAFTA? NAFTA. This is the North America Free Trade Agreement, which was enacted in 1994 and created free trade for Mexico, Canada, and the United States. It's the most important feature in the US-Mexico bilateral commercial relationship. So what does this mean? As of January 1st, 2008, all tariffs and quotas were eliminated on US exports to Mexico and Canada under this agreement, and vice versa for Mexico. Now, go back a couple years in 2018, Mexico was now actually our third largest trading partner after Canada and China, and second largest export market market. So a lot of our US manufactured goods are being sent over to Mexico. This trade agreement, the North American trade agreement between Canada, US, and Mexico has created a ton of jobs for all three of those countries and established much better working relationships. However, recently with Donald Trump, with, the immigrant status and that sort of thing, there have been some talks of, putting a high tariff on Mexico if they don't get a grip on the illegal immigrants coming into the country. But again, with a new president coming in, it remains to be seen a little bit how that's all going to play out. But for now, we are protected under NAFTA. The last country on my list for you to check out is the US of A, the United States of America. You might be thinking, I can't afford to manufacture in the United States. That's the same, doubt that I had for our company, a lot of people I've worked with, right? But there can be opportunities when you think about tariffs, shipping, import, export, all those types of things that you can actually get your product made right here on home soil for cheaper than you could get it made in China, India, or Mexico, or any of these other countries out there. Just to give you an idea, manufacturing in the United States accounts for 11% of the total output of our economy and employs about 8.5% of the entire workforce. So manufacturing adds a lot of power to the US economy. Every dollar spent on manufacturing in the United States adds $2.74 to the economy. That includes retail, transportation, business services. Another contributor is the high US standard of living compared to other countries. So what does that mean? That makes labor costs much greater than other nations, which is why you've seen costs traditionally be much higher than in China. So for that reason, US manufacturers can't always compete with the low cost products made by lower paid workers in China, Asia, and Mexico. Another reason why manufacturing in the US has traditionally been a lot more difficult was because the corporate tax rate was 35%, which was higher than a lot of other countries, twice as much as China, which was only 16%. Due to President Trump's most previous tax plan, that corporate tax rate was cut all the way down to 21%, which made companies a lot more comfortable to manufacture here on home soil due to those decrease of taxes, which passed those lower costs onto you as a business owner. All this being said, I do think there is still opportunity for manufacturing on US soil depending on what it is that you're making. So it's at least worth exploring. Now you might not find US manufacturers here on Alibaba.com, but you can look on Google, you can talk to some other people, look for companies and businesses that are making products that you potentially would want to sell and maybe get them made right here in the United States. If you like this video, guys, do me a huge favor, give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below which country you would prefer to go to have your products made. Even if you're not getting a product made right now, which country would you go to and why? Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are about all of this. Once again, guys, I'm Mandy. We've got all sorts of videos coming out for you guys to help you build your brand and business online. See you in the next video.